This is the Weigh-In Podcast by Ben Rochester and the occasional pop-in Sebastian Romero. On this week's Weigh-In, what do we have for you? Well, we're going to talk about, if we haven't already, Devin Haney versus Romero. That is in the talks of a negotiation and whatever else comes up in the time recording and all the other things that are bouncing around the boxing world. So, with that being said, that is this week's Weigh-In. So if we jump right into this one, for y'all. First and foremost, Haney, Romero. I think it's an interesting one because, we never really know what kind of Romero we get. And that's because it's always a different style. It's never consistent. So I think it's pretty good for most, but we'll see what kind of Romero we're gonna get. So let's see what happened in his last fight, because that's what I want to know. What happened in his last fight? So we're gonna check. His last fight. Oh no, was this fight against Ryan Garcia? No. No. No way. No. We're gonna check his box track because maybe that's wrong. You know? No, his last fight was Ryan Garcia, bro. So Rolly's gonna possibly fight, possibly because we all know that negotiations can fall through. It's gonna possibly fight Devin Haney, but it's a unification bout between the WBA and WBO. So I kind of like it. I don't hate it. So, belts are gonna get snatched. They say it's slated for May 30th at MGM Grand Las Vegas. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think it could be very well interesting for that. It could be real good to see not Ryan Garcia, but to see Rolly Romero versus Devin Haney. That's a good one, y'all. That's a real good one, and I call it a good one because of the fact that Rolly Romero's last win was it was fashionable. He stopped Ryan Garcia, mind you. So I kind of feel like he on a roll without being on a roll. So I kind of feel like he doing what he can, but it's also one of the things that is like, hey, it's a unification bout. If it happens for the WBO, WBA, that's going to be looking good. You know, if we take a look at that, we take a look at that division for that boxing rank. We're gonna pull this up for y'all real quick. Real quick. Let's see. We're gonna pull this up real quick. So that 147. If Devin Haney and Rolly Romero clash, that's gonna be WBA, WBO unified. Good. Now, whoever win that is gonna be looking to snatch that. Is gonna be looking to face Ryan Garcia. They're gonna look to be facing Garcia. Because they're gonna look to snatch that Garcia bout. For sure. for sure they're gonna be trying to snatch that Garcia bout. Or if it was them, you hold off on Garcia and you take the IBF from Lewis Kroger. So that's possible too, because there's a couple ways you can go about it. And if it was me, I'd probably say, hey, if you think you could beat Lewis Kroger, go ahead and snatch Lewis first, and then go see what what fight can be made with Ryan Garcia. But at this point, you really got to say, hey, the best thing they can do here is start with themselves. Rolly Romero, Devin Haney, start there, and then move forward. Move forward with very well Lewis Kroger. All right, y'all. Move forward with Lewis Kroger. Start with Kroger, and then go from there. Because I think that's the fight to be made. Lewis Kroger, the Kroger fight. I think that's the fight to be made right there. Because if they could, after beating, no matter who wins, I think the fight is to make Lewis Kroger next and get that out of the way real quick, so that undisputed unification bout is even bigger. Because now you say, okay, we're fighting Ryan Garcia, more than likely Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney too, and when it becomes undisputed, y'all, we gotta think about that. But I mean, that's a I think that's a good matchup for Devin Haney. I think that's a really good matchup for Rolly Romero. But Rolly Romero should have fought a lot sooner than now. That's that's what I got. He should have fought a lot sooner than before now. That's on him. He should have fought a lot sooner, and I think that's nothing but the case. He should have fought a lot sooner. But hey, he gonna fight now. Let's see what happens. Let's see what comes of it, and we go from there. We gonna go from there. We gonna see what comes. But that's the first and foremost. I would say is what that's the first and foremost. Like I said, that's the first and foremost is fight each other first. Get that set. Rolly Romero, Devin Haney, get that set first. Then worry about those other two belts you got to get first, because it's a boxing nowadays. Probably come up with trade clause, and I mean not trade clause, but rematch clause and all this stuff where you never can really undispute. But I think there's a clear path here for no matter who wins, the undisputed. And I really think, given that Rolly Romero hasn't fought in a long time, we're about to go on a whole year. You know, let's figure out why. I want to know why. Let's see. It says a collapse, fight negotiations, difficulty in securing a high-profile opponent, and potential mandatory obligations. He says a failed rematch with Ryan Garcia fell through. No, no. What you talking about? You want King Rye for? What you want King Rye for? But we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see. But like I said, I think it could be interesting with this Devin Haney, Rolly Romero, because that 147, you could undispute that very well. But I think it's going to be interesting to see that, Rolly Romero has not fought in a while. So I think with Rolly Romero not fighting in a while may very well cause it may cause an issue because he hasn't really fought in a while. That's what I'm saying. So we about to be over a year. Over a year, you couldn't find an opponent. Come on now, you couldn't find somebody for a whole year. No, I don't. I don't believe that. A whole year. He's like, oh, I could find somebody for a whole year. Come on, y'all. A whole year, right? Like a whole year. You're telling me we basically, we doubt, you know. So I don't know. I just feel like, there's not a lot of effort. But I get it. He's scheduled to fight, so we're gonna see him with Devin Haney. Hopefully, you know. Hopefully, I don't understand how the commission hasn't like mandatory said you got to fight this person, that person. I don't know, but he fought in a long while, and he's complaining on a failed rematch with Ryan Garcia and failed negotiations with other fighters. But I don't really know if they're failed negotiations with other fighters. Low key, I kind of feel like it may very well just be a common conversation of he's trying to fight. Like it did say that he's trying to fight major names, but hey, if the big money fights ain't coming, you gotta fight, right? Like you gotta fight. You gotta get in that ring. It's absolutely crazy. But we'll see. We'll see what comes of this. But I definitely think that that's an interesting fight with Devin Haney. If that's signed, you know, that'd be very interesting. If any of you have heard the news on Jake Paul is very well out for a while with this jaw. They say Jake Paul is out for a while. So he had to get a second surgery due to a setback where the hardware came loose. So he won't. He won't. He's out of the ring until late 26 or early 27 because he has to do another whole surgery where they've got to get the his jaw right. That's what I'm talking about, y'all. Fought Anthony Joshua, and now his jaw's all messed up. That's what I'm talking about. So we may not see Jake Paul for a whole year. Paul's going to be out of the ring for a year. No Jake Paul. It's going to get interesting, y'all. We got no Jake Paul. We got no Rolly Romero can't get himself in fight. Like, this is just interesting, huh? Real crazy. Just real crazy. Real crazy. That you ain't gonna see Jake. Logan Paul, if you all didn't know, I guess I'll explain that. We talked about Logan. We might have talked about Logan Paul was going to fight. Officially, the WWE told Logan Paul he could not fight in a boxing match against. I'm going to look that up now. Who was supposed to fight? So I think Logan Paul was supposed to. Le'Veon Bell. There it is, Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, so let's see. The WWE has blocked Logan Paul from pursuing $1 million fight against NFL player, according to TMZ. According to a report from TMZ Sports and other sources, the company intervened directly, citing concerns over potential injury with WrestleMania season approaching. So the WWE told Logan Paul, no, you cannot get no boxing match. You know, you're under a contractual agreement with us, and if you do, you know, you might lose your contract. So Paul says, WWE called him and said, I'm pretty sure there's a video out there, and they said no. They said, hey, Logan, you cannot. They called him. Yeah, yeah. So they said no. So that's what happened. They turned around and said no, it's not going to happen. They said no because they don't want him getting hurt. So that's a tough situation. Tough situation though. Real tough situation for Logan. That they said no. They were like, They told him no. They did not want him boxing because they said he could get hurt, and that was just a real a real sucky situation if you're Logan Paul because he was gonna make a quick millie. He was gonna have a good boxing fight against an NFL star. But unfortunately, the WWE told him right away. No, they told him no. So No, that's kind of what happened there. That they just kind of said nope. That's kind of what went on there. Unfortunately, and it just kind of sucks to see. It sucks. That's what I kind of feel is it just really sucks. I thought it was going to be a good fight. Any fight Logan was going to get into, but unfortunately, his employer, the WWE, says no, 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 no. So he won't be able to do stuff like that. But the idea felt really good. But WWE said no, you're going to get hurt, and Logan's like, no, I'm not. And so much as a cut on his face, yeah, he could get cut up in a fight, and they say nope, you could get cut, you could get hurt at training camp, you could 1,000 things that happen, and they said no, but it's just WWE time. It's you can't do that. And if he was to go forward with this fight, he'd be terminated. They probably fired for the WWE. So there's no possible way he could fight this fight. It's not possible at all. So that's the situation. But that's just the so Logan's not going to be able to box nothing. So unfortunately, we're not going to see no Logan Paul boxing, and Jake is out. Jake is out more than likely till next year. So that's the interesting thing. That's a real interesting. It just is a real interesting thing to see. That Logan is not going to be able to fight, and the minute he got out and said he was going to start fighting, they shut that down immediately. They were like, no, 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 Logan, there's no fight going to happen for you. So real tough situation if you're Logan Paul. You wanted to fight, it's not going to happen anymore, and it's tough. It's tough to be in any situation like that where you want to get out, you want to fight, and your job says no, you can't fight. So it's tough. It's tough if you're Logan. It's very tough. It's very tough. So will he be able to in the future? Probably not. He's a full time WWE superstar now. They've got him full time over there, so there's not much he could do. That he's got to focus on WWE, and they are not going to allow him to do low level. I say low level because it is low level to fight a football star or anything like that. That's low level. And I don't think they're going to ever allow Logan to do anything that's low level where it's not right. It's not good for their business. They need him as a superstar, and that's kind of why they're not going to allow it. It's a tough situation all the way around. Um, I feel for Logan. Honestly, I really do because I'm like, he really did want to get into this and make some money because nobody was going to beat him. But the risk is there. Obviously, he could get caught. He could get cut in training camp. Anything could happen where he could prevent him from doing WWE, and it is what it is. There's not much. There's not much you could say to that. It is what it is. Nobody wanted to see that happen for Logan, but it is what it is, y'all. You know, it is what it is. Logan is he can't do it. And it sucks, but it is what it is. It is what it is, y'all. It sucks, but there's nothing we can really do. There's nothing. I mean, Paul can really do. I mean, it's not weak, but nothing. There's nothing Logan can do because of his contract with WWE. They're always going to tell him no. It would be one thing when you're kind of not under a heavy contract like those guys are, but it makes you wonder how so many of those guys are able to even do a movie. You're like, oh, the risk is, but it is what it is. It is what it is at this point. Feel for Logan, but it is what it is. There's not much Logan can really do about it. But that is what I'm saying. So you talk about you know why so much of boxing falls through with these fights and why Rolly says, oh, so much falls through. Everybody's got obligations everywhere where they just some stuff can't happen. That's what so much happens, and you just so much happens where you're like, all right, we got obligations everywhere. You can't do this, you can't do that. It's just tough out there. It's tough out there. But nonetheless, we're at the end of the epi for all of you. So that is the epi I brought to you today. So I would say like, comment, subscribe, share. It's the best I could do for you. This is The Weigh-In by Ben Rochester and the occasional Papa Sylvester Romero. And I'll see you, obviously, in the next episode or the next episode. Weigh-In out.